A Japanese driving instructor once told me something that rewired how I see engines. We don't just maintain cars here, we repay them. Then he added the part that stuck. An engine should last as long as you do. Not through repairs, but discipline. What follows are 17 Japanese methods that keep fuel injectors clean without ever removing them, ranked from simple habits to advanced techniques. The first mistake people make feels harmless, but it quietly undoes everything that comes after. Number 17. The $5 bottle trap. If you have ever stood in the aisle staring at injector cleaners, you already know the feeling. 10 bottles, 10 promises, and every label looks like it was designed by a marketing department that drinks gasoline for breakfast. Here's the Japanese rule. You do not buy a cleaner, you buy a detergent molecule. The name you want to see is PEA, polyethyramine. PEA is the one that actually matters for deposit control in the places that affect spray pattern and combustion quality. If the bottle cannot clearly justify what it contains, you treat it like a mystery meal from a sketchy roadside stall. People think cheap cleaner equals cheap risk. The real cost is indirect. Some cheap bottles lean on light solvents that can make the engine feel different for a day. That sensation tricks drivers into thinking it worked. Meanwhile, the deposits that cause rough idle and bad atomization keep building, and the driver keeps buying another bottle, like feeding coins into a machine that never pays out. A Japanese mechanic once joked to me, "Some cleaners clean only the wallet." He said it smiling, then he stopped smiling and told me the important part. You do not fix discipline problems with random chemistry. Pick the right chemical, and you take control. Pick the wrong one, and you start a cycle you will hate. Because number 16 is where the real cleaning begins, and it happens before you even open the fuel cap. Number 16. The fuel you choose daily. Most people talk about injector cleaning like it is a repair. In Japan, it is closer to brushing teeth. Small, consistent, boring, and it keeps the expensive drama away. Your injectors see whatever your fuel brings them. Fuel quality does not only mean octane, it also means detergent package consistency, stability, and how much deposit tendency your driving style turns into sludge over time. If you do short trips, cold starts, and traffic crawling, your system lives in the worst-case scenario for buildup. That means your daily fuel choice matters more than your once-a-year miracle bottle. The simplest Japanese method is this. Choose a reputable station and be loyal to it for a while. Not because loyalty is romantic, but because consistency is clean. You want the same detergent behavior tank after tank. The injectors like predictable fuel. The combustion likes predictable fuel. Your idle likes predictable fuel. There is a money angle here too. People chase the cheapest station to save a tiny amount per fill, then they pay later with rough running, injector service, and that slow decline in fuel economy that feels like the car is getting old. The car is not old. The car is dirty. This is not glamorous advice. It is the kind of advice that makes your car feel younger without you buying anything exciting. And now that your baseline is clean fuel, number 15 is how you use a proper additive like a professional. Number 15. PEA timing rules. Here is where most people mess up even when they buy the right product. They pour it in whenever they remember. They do not think about concentration, timing, or the drive cycle. Then they say additives do nothing. In Japan, the rule is simple. The cleaner must actually travel through the system with enough concentration to do its job. That means you do not dump it into a full tank and hope for magic. You also do not pour it in and park the car for a week like it is marinating a steak. The clean way looks like this. Add the PEA cleaner when the tank sits around a quarter to half, then drive it properly. Give it sustained movement, not a 1-minute idle in a driveway. You want it to circulate through the pump, rail, and injectors while the engine runs at stable temperature, and do not treat it like a daily supplement. Strong cleaners are periodic tools, not a lifestyle. The purpose is to dissolve deposits gradually and safely, then let normal fuel do the maintenance. A good PEA cycle often shows up as smoother idle, cleaner throttle response, and fewer small stumbles on light acceleration. It also shows up as something you stop noticing, and that is the best result. The engine stops acting needy. Before we move on, tap subscribe to stay ahead of common car problems. We explain what matters, skip the fluff, and help you make smarter decisions behind the wheel daily. Number 14. Quarter tank discipline. Let me tell you the truth nobody wants to hear. Some injector problems come from a driver habit, not the injector itself. The habit is running the tank low again and again, then acting surprised when the fuel system starts behaving like it is under stress. When you run low, the pump runs hotter. Heat is not just an engine problem, it is a system problem. Hotter fuel changes behavior, hotter pump operation changes wear, and when the tank is low, any contamination at the bottom becomes more relevant because you are closer to it more often. People love saying the filter will catch it. Filters are not magical. Filters have limits, and filters age. A driver who keeps living on fumes turns the filter into a full-time bouncer at a nightclub. Eventually the bouncer gets tired and the wrong guests slip through. The Japanese discipline is boring and it works. Refill around a quarter tank. You keep the pump happier, you keep the system cooler, and you keep your injector cleaning efforts from fighting against a dirty supply chain. This habit also saves money in an indirect way. Fuel pumps and system strain repairs cost real money. A quarter tank refill habit costs nothing extra, it is just timing. Now, if you live where ethanol blends are common, number 13 becomes the difference between a clean system and a sticky one. Number 13. Ethanol moisture reality. Ethanol fuel behaves like a polite troublemaker. It works fine, it runs fine, and it quietly attracts mob water like it is collecting souvenirs. That moisture changes combustion behavior and can contribute to gummy deposits, especially in cars that sit, cars that do short trips, and cars that rarely get a proper heat cycle. A Japanese instructor told me, "Ethanol is not evil, ethanol is picky." That line is perfect, because the solution is not panic, the solution is stability. If your car sits for days, you treat the fuel like something that needs protection. A quality stabilizer can help keep fuel more consistent through storage periods by slowing oxidation and reducing the chemical mess that builds when moisture and fuel sit together. That means the injectors see fuel that behaves like fuel, not fuel that has been aging in a dark tank like leftover soup. You also stop doing the one thing that makes ethanol problems worse. You avoid stacking random cheap additives on top of each other. That is how sticky residues get invited into the party. This method is not for everyone every week. It is for specific lifestyles. If you drive daily with consistent refills, you may never need this. If you do short trips and long parking periods, this habit feels like a cheat code. Now you are ready for number 12, because Japan loves the difference between deep clean and stay clean. Number 12, gentle detergent routine. PEA is the deep clean. It is the big shower after a dirty job. The gentle detergent routine is the daily face wash. It prevents the system from returning to the same dirty state. This is where people misunderstand and overdo it. They hear detergent and think more is better. Engines punish that mentality. Too much additive can upset combustion quality and stress sensitive components over time. The Japanese way is quiet. Use a mild maintenance detergent on a light schedule, like every few tanks, or after a deep clean cycle, then go back to normal fuel. The point is slow prevention. The point is keeping the injectors from sliding back into varnish buildup that sneaks up over months. It helps most when your fuel quality varies and your driving pattern is harsh. City driving, heavy idling, lots of cold starts, and short runs build deposit conditions. A mild detergent routine can soften that impact. The proof is usually boring. Idle feels steady. Throttle feels linear. The car stops doing those small, annoying hesitations that feel like it is thinking. The engine stops thinking because it is breathing and spraying properly. And now we get to number 11, which sounds like driving, yet it functions like cleaning from the combustion side. Number 11, the monthly road flush. People love the phrase Italian tune-up. Japan has a calmer version that feels like discipline instead of ego. The idea is controlled temperature and consistent RPM for long enough that combustion cleans what city driving leaves behind. Here's what it looks like. A healthy engine, proper oil level, warmed up fully, then a steady drive for 20 to 30 minutes at a higher RPM band than your usual lazy commute. Not redline, not racing, just a consistent, moderate load where combustion temperature and airflow stay stable. Why does it help? Because lots of buildup comes from incomplete combustion conditions, short trips, cold starts, stop and go. The engine rarely reaches the zone where it burns cleanly for a sustained period. The monthly road flush gives it that zone. Drivers notice it as improved throttle response and a calmer idle. It is like the engine stops carrying its own congestion. The biggest benefit is long-term. You reduce the tendency for carbon and varnish to keep returning. And here is the safety line. You do this only on a healthy engine. If your car has misfires, overheating history, strange noises, or oil problems, you diagnose first. A dirty, healthy engine benefits from this. A sick engine suffers from it. Now, our number 10 takes us to the air side because clean fuel still struggles when the engine cannot breathe correctly. Number 10, throttle plate precision. A lot of people blame injectors for problems that begin at the throttle body. Unstable, idle, lazy response, light vibration, and that "why does it feel off today" sensation often comes from a dirty throttle plate and airflow control drift. Here is the Japanese mindset. Treat the throttle body like a sensor, not a chunk of metal. That means no aggressive carb cleaner on electronic throttle bodies, no rough rag, no forcing the plate like you are opening a stuck jar. The clean routine is careful and simple. Warm the engine, shut it off, remove the intake duct, and use a throttle body safe cleaner with a microfiber cloth. You clean the deposits gently. You let the system relearn afterward with a calm idle and a short, gentle drive. When people do it wrong, the cost is annoying. Idle becomes weird. The ECU fights to relearn. Sometimes the car throws codes because airflow values changed suddenly. When people do it right, the car feels immediately smoother. The engine breathes evenly. Combustion becomes more complete. Deposits form perform slower. This is a quiet upgrade that makes every other injector cleaning method more effective because the fuel spray finally meets stable airflow. And now the next step is where home maintenance starts feeling like workshop territory, and it can be powerful when done with respect. Number 9. Pressurized rail cleaning. This method is the bridge between bottle in the tank and remove the injectors. It keeps the injectors in place, yet it runs a stronger cleaning solution directly through the fuel rail under controlled pressure. A shop uses a kit that isolates the normal fuel supply, then feeds the engine a measured cleaner through the rail so the injectors spray the cleaner the same way they spray fuel. This can break down hardened varnish and stubborn tip deposits that tank additives struggle with, especially when short trips and low-quality fuel built layers over time. Here's the granddad warning, and it matters. This is effective, and it is also minor surgery. The pressure must be correct, the chemical must be compatible, the connection must be airtight. Mistakes here create leaks, no start situations, and angry sensors. A good shop treats it like a protocol. They explain what they use, how long it runs, and what symptoms it targets. They also tell you what it cannot do, because honesty is part of the Japanese approach. It cannot fix a dead injector coil. It cannot fix a weak pump. It cannot fix a vacuum leak pretending to be a fuel issue. Used correctly, it often restores smooth idle and steady acceleration quickly, and it can save you from injector removal costs when the injectors are still healthy. Number 8. Direct injection blind spot. Here's the modern twist that confuses people. You clean the injectors, the engine still feels off, and you start doubting every method you just used. Direct injection is the reason this happens so often. On many direct injection engines, the fuel injector sprays straight into the combustion chamber. That sounds advanced, and it is. It also means the fuel never washes over the back of the intake valves the way older port injection engines did. In the old days, fuel carried detergents and kept the valves cleaner by accident. In the new days, the valves live a dry life, and dry lives collect carbon. So you can have injectors that spray beautifully and intake valves that look like they have been barbecued for years. The symptoms can feel identical: rough idle, hesitation, misfires, strange cold starts. Then the driver throws more injector cleaner at a problem that is living upstream. The Japanese solution begins with honesty. If the engine is direct injected, injector cleaning stays part of the plan, and intake deposit control joins the plan. You treat it like two rooms in one house. Cleaning one room does not clean the other. The next step is learning how carbon gets invited into the intake, because once you see the source, you stop chasing ghosts. Number 7. PCV and blow-by control. Number 7. PCV and blow-by control. If you want to understand why intake valves get dirty and why injectors get contaminated over time, you follow the vapors. The PCV system is supposed to route crankcase fumes back into the intake to be burned. That is a good idea in theory. In real life, those fumes carry oil mist, fuel vapor, and moisture, and they paint the inside of your intake like a slow-motion spray can. Then heat bakes it, dust sticks to it, carbon builds on it. That carbon changes airflow. Airflow changes the air-fuel mixture. The mixture changes combustion quality. Combustion quality changes deposits. It becomes a loop. A Japanese mechanic would call this the dirty air problem. People obsess over fuel, and they forget the engine is also breathing. You can run perfect injectors with dirty intake air paths and still feel a weak engine. The disciplined move is basic. Make sure the PCV valve and PCV passages are healthy. Replace the PCV valve on schedule if your platform treats it as a service item. If you have a catch can set up, use it correctly and maintain it, because a neglected catch can become its own problem. Keep your oil changes consistent, because old oil vaporizes easier and increases mist. Number 6. Fuel filter and pump pressure. A lot of injector problems are really fuel delivery problems wearing an injector costume. The injector can only spray correctly if it receives correct pressure and clean fuel. When pressure sags, spray pattern degrades. When fuel carries junk, injector tips gum up faster. When the pump struggles, the rail pressure becomes a shaky heartbeat instead of a steady rhythm. This is where Japanese shops behave like adults. They check fundamentals before they pour chemicals. They respect the supply side. If your vehicle has a serviceable fuel filter, treat it like a real maintenance item, not a forgotten accessory. If your filter is in tank as part of the pump module, you still pay attention to pump sound and pressure behavior. A pump that starts whining is not singing, it's complaining. The financial angle matters here. People chase miracle cleaning services when the real fix is a tired pump or a restricted filter. Fixing the delivery side first often makes injector symptoms disappear with no additives at all. It also saves you from paying for repeated cleaning cycles that never stick. Once the delivery system is healthy, injector cleaning works better because the injectors are not being fed dirty fuel or unstable pressure. Now comes the method that makes you feel like a wizard, because it uses the car's own data to tell you the truth. Number 5. Fuel trims tell truth. If you want to stop guessing, you read fuel trims. This is where Japan's discipline shows its face. You do not chase symptoms. You measure what the engine is correcting. Fuel trims are the ECU's way of saying, I had to add fuel, or I had to remove fuel, to hit the target mixture. High positive trims can suggest a lean condition. That lean condition can come from restricted injectors. It can also come from vacuum leaks, MAF errors, intake leaks, weak fuel pressure, or exhaust leaks upstream of the sensor. You see why this matters. When people throw cleaner at a lean condition without checking trims, they gamble. Sometimes they win by accident. Often they lose and keep buying bottles. You do not need to become a master technician to use this. A basic scan tool that shows short-term and long-term fuel trims gives you a story. If trims are stable and normal, your injectors are probably not the main villain. If trims are drifting lean and your delivery side checks out, injector restriction becomes more likely. If trims swing wildly, you look for air leaks and sensor issues. This is the bridge between DIY and real diagnosis. It saves money because it prevents fixes that never had a chance. Now we step into a Japanese workshop technique that sits above the rail kit and below full disassembly. Number 4. Professional solvent machine. There is a difference between a pressurized kit and a professional machine service, and it comes down to control. A proper machine regulates pressure, flow, and sometimes solvent temperature with precision. It runs a strict protocol, and it turns cleaning into a measured procedure instead of a best effort attempt. Japanese workshops respect this method because it cleans deeper while keeping the injectors installed. The engine runs on the cleaning solution under controlled conditions long enough to dissolve varnish and internal deposits that survive tank additives. This process often creates visible evidence. The exhaust smell changes. Deposits burn off. Sometimes you see darker smoke early in the procedure as the engine clears what it has been carrying. Done correctly, the car leaves with smoother, idle, cleaner throttle response and more consistent power delivery. Done carelessly, it causes headaches. Wrong solvent can attack seals. Wrong pressure can stress components. Released debris can temporarily upset sensors. That is why Japan treats it like a craft. The money benefit is real when used at the right time. It can delay injector replacement. It can restore a tired system. It can also save you from full teardown labor if the injectors are healthy but dirty. Now we move into the method that cleans from the air side and scares people because they imagine their engine drinking liquid. Number 3. Intake decarb done right. This is the carbon machine lane. It targets deposits through the intake path while the engine runs, and it can clean more than injectors indirectly. It affects intake valves, combustion chambers, and sometimes parts of the exhaust path. When it is done correctly, engines feel lighter, smoother, and less lazy. The fear comes from sloppy versions of this idea. People spray random products into the intake like they are watering a plant. That is how engines hydrolock, foul plugs, and throw codes for days. The Japanese version is controlled. Metered flow, correct temperature, correct timing, constant attention. The machine introduces a measured cleaning agent into the intake stream so the engine consumes it as part of the airflow. The agent loosens carbon, and combustion finishes the job. It is a calculated intervention, not a guessing game. This is especially valuable for direct injection engines with intake valve deposits, because injector cleaning alone does not touch those valves. A proper intake cleaning service can bring back smooth cold starts and reduce misfire tendencies caused by airflow disruption at the valve. This is also where you choose your shop wisely. A good shop explains what system they use and why, and they follow a procedure that keeps the engine safe. Now we reach the step that decides whether you need to go deeper, because it tests the injectors without removing them. Number 2. Injector balance verification. Here's the method that separates cleaning from knowing. An injector balance test checks whether each injector contributes evenly. It looks at how the engine reacts when individual injectors are commanded, and it reveals weak cylinders caused by restricted or faulty injectors. Japanese technicians love verification because it prevents wasted work. If one injector is electrically failing, no additive fixes it. If one injector is mechanically restricted, a deeper cleaning or replacement becomes the smart move. If all injectors behave evenly, your rough idle is coming from somewhere else, and you stop blaming the fuel system. This is also where financial logic becomes clear. Replacing all injectors is expensive. Replacing one injector is still expensive. Testing first protects your wallet and protects your time. You can feel the maturity of the process here. You stop chasing symptoms and you start confirming causes. That mindset is the same mindset that keeps Japanese cars alive for absurd mileages. Now we arrive at the real secret, and it is almost boring until you realize it is the only thing that makes every method above actually stick. Number 1. The Japanese maintenance loop. The real secret is not a bottle. It is not a machine. It is not a heroic cleaning day where you feel proud and then forget the car for 12 months. The secret is a loop. Japanese maintenance works because it prevents the engine from ever getting filthy enough to need desperate measures. It is continuity. It is consistency. It is the calm discipline of doing small things on schedule so the big problems never earn a chance. The loop looks like this in real life. You run consistent quality fuel. You use a real PEA cleaner on a measured interval. You keep the tank habits clean. You protect against ethanol storage issues when your lifestyle demands it. You keep the throttle body breathing clean. You give the engine a monthly heat cycle drive when it lives in city traffic. You watch fuel trims before you panic. You escalate to professional services only when the data and symptoms justify it. It is boring on purpose. That boring saves you money, keeps the car smooth, and delays the day you have to pay for injector removal or replacement. It also makes your car feel well cared for in a way that people notice when they drive it. A Japanese instructor once said, "Engines do not die from age, they die from neglect." That line stays true everywhere. You apply half of this loop, and your engine thanks you for years. If you want, tell me what engine you drive and your typical driving style, and I'll map this loop into a simple schedule you can follow without thinking.